Morning, Rabbi Isai. So we're going to start a very, very geschmacke, interesting and nogea sugya today. It will hopefully last us 2 shura, maybe we'll even get to 3. One of the most nogea shailas that come up in business. And by the way, this is not in the business world only. This is nogea to anyone at any time. This is nogea to a bachar yeshiva. This is nogea to somebody at home. This is nogea to a business. If we know the shailas, we might know what's considered to be a shaila, what's also what's mutter. It is impossible, disclaimers we normally make. It is impossible for us to go through all of the shailas that we have to deal with in the small scope of the shurim that we're going to be giving. But it's just to give you a bit of a taster, just to whet your appetite, and hopefully you're going to get such a geschmack, you're going to want to run over to the Shulchan Aruch and learn it yourself at your own spare time. It's definitely not an easy halacha to learn, but it's something very, very important. And that, of course, is the shaila of Ribbis. Ribbis being a very nogea, very choshev sugya to learn. In fact, the lashonis that we find about Ribbis, we almost don't find anywhere else, about specific halachas, which we have to understand why. What's the problem? There's a modige kliyaka. The kliyaka explains what's the whole problem with Ribbis. Like, why is it so bad? We find the shonis and Chazal telling us terrible things about a person that lends money with Ribbis. What's the problem? So the kliyaka says a very interesting yesod. He explains why the nafkamina between a goy and a yid. But he explains very simply, says the kliyaka, that when a person lends beribis, he lends money. Ribbis means that I'm charging extra. Let's make it very simple. I'm lending you $100 and I'm saying I'd like you to pay me back $120. I had to give up my $100. I'm waiting for it to come back. I could have invested it. I go not to the Gemara says in Bam Metzia, Mimela. When I have to wait for my money to come back, I'm charging for that. And therefore I want $20. Or I can even charge $10 per month that you don't pay me back. Or whatever it may be. Right? When people buy homes, right, with mortgages, these are shaidas of Ribbis. All sorts of shaidas. We'll get to some of the interesting shaidas. I'll just mention some of them today. But that's what Ribbis means. So says the kliyaka, when a person sets up his own mahalach of how he can make money, he's not really relying on the Rabbeinu Shalom. He thinks that I'm going to make the cheshboinus, I'm going to make money, and I'm going to cause my money to get even greater and greater. Either Rabbeinu Shalom, I'll deal with it myself. Says the kliyaka, that's pshat. Why? There's enough community in Goyim and Yidden, but that's really what's going on behind why lending beribis is so chomer. By the way, it's interesting. I don't know, people ever want to look up a shaila of Ribbis. So what do? So you open up a Shulchan Aruch. So in Shulchan Aruch we know that we've got Dalet Chalokim. We've got Yeridea, which deals primarily with inyone, treifas, kashrus, basav v'cholov, all these sorts of shailas. And then of course we've got choshev mishpat that deal with monetary matters, Even Ezer that deal with ksubas, gittin, women things. And then of course Orach Chaim, of which we have a Mishabura that deals with the life generally, going through the calendar date, going through the day of how to live a normal life. So when a person wants to learn Ribbis, he has a shaila of Ribbis. What does he do? He opens up a Shulchan Aruch. Which Shulchan Aruch does he open up? So he runs straight for the choshev mishpat. Because Choshev Mishpah, it's money. Money's in Choshev Mishpah, and it's not. It's actually in Yeridea. Now, what's it doing in Yeridea? Why have I got Ribbis in the middle of Yeridea in the inyonim of, shailas of, goyish zachen and kashrus and things like that? So it's very interesting. If you look at the Torah in Simon Kuf Samach, so the Simon Kufnan Tes is the first simon in Hilchos Ribbis. And right before that, we're dealing with all the inyonim of Goyim, avodah zaros and zachen that you can't lend to Goyim and zachen to Goyim. And then the Shulchan Aruch says in Kufnan Tes, by the way, lending money to Goyim is also shailas, which we'll get to maybe. And then in Kuf Samach he says, oh, you mentioned Ribbis? Oh, okay, fine. Name me Bei Mulsa. I'll say a few things about Ribbis. And then we've got simonim and simonim and simonim on Ribbis. It's an amazing thing. Just because it was Agav mentioned just after Halachos of Goyim. So there it is, Rabbi Isai. It's in Yeridea. So in case you want to look it up, it's in Yeridea. Now we have over here a very interesting thing. The Shulchan Aruch tells us, and again, Rabbi Isai, I don't know if the guys here realize how this is negea to every single one of you in yeshiva. This is negea all the time. If you do things and you don't know these halachas, this is negea. We'll get to some of the common shailas, Be'ez Hashem, a bit today, a bit tomorrow, B'li Neda. So like this, the Shulchan Aruch tells us, in Yeridea Simon Kuf Samach Si Beis, says the Shulchan Aruch, it's a Gemara in Bam Metzia, Ayin Aleph Amud Aleph, where the Gemara tells us, Shulchan Aruch paskins halacha lemaisa like the Gemara. So it's not that it's chas v'sholem, but it's not just a chazal, But the Shulchan Aruch paskins like the Chazal. What does Chazal tell us, which is paskin the Shulchan Aruch? Kol hanosein beribbis nechasa mismoitetim. His property, his money goes down. So if you want to wonder why people are losing money and why people are not successful in business and everything, all their investments seem to be going down, Shulchan Aruch tells us it's a Gemara. They seem to be obviously lending money beribbis. Maybe they don't know the halachas. Uki'ilu lashna Gemara Shulchan Aruch paskins uki'ilu kofa b'yitzias Mitzrayim belekei Yisrael. You hear this? They're being kofer chas v'sholem. They're denying Yitzias Mitzrayim. There we were, a whole Pesach. We spent a whole Pesach discussing Yitzias Mitzrayim and the Nisim and the Floyas and what the Rabban Shem did v'aseh Mitzrayim and Shlish of Pesach moedik inyonim. And here he is. He lends beribbis. Says Gemara in Bometzia Ayin Aleph. Paskin and Shulchan Aruch Yeridei Simon Kuv Samach Si Beis. The halacha is this guy is kofer. Not only is he kofer in Yitzias Mitzrayim, he's also kofer in chas v'sholem belekei Yisrael. As I state in the Gemara. State. Well, it's an unbelievable thing. The Be'er Gra says, the Vilna Gaon explains Pshat, that the Rabbeinu Shalom took us out of Mitzrayim just that we would not lend money beribbis. There's a loshon of Chazal, Hamalva beribbis eina kom b'tchias hamesim. So if you want to get up by tchias hamesim, be very careful how you lend money and do all of your business activities. That's an important thing. Now, just give you an idea of how Ribbis is Nageya on a daily basis for us, for a business, for somebody at home, all sorts of shilas. So, for example, if you have a bank account and your bank account pays you interest, it says it very clearly, interest, right? That's called Ribbis, right? And here in this country, it's actually called Ribbis. If you don't pay your bills on time in this country, they will charge Ribbis. Clearly, Ribbis. Right, you look at the word Ribbis, you see like Shulchan Aruch Yeridei Simon like it's staring at you. Like, well, hello? What's going on with it? What do we do? What do we do if you have a bank account? Well, we're not allowed to take Ribbis now? We have to give back all the interest that we made and donate it to the local yeshiva? Avada. What are you meant to do if a person has got a bank account? So that's shayla number one, Rabbi Yisai. Paying bills, by the way, very complicated. But Al Capone, number two, a simple shayla, right? I saw this. Baruch Hashem, the Olam in Yeshiva likes to travel. Together with Yeshiva, take the boys out, right? So you go, for example, to South Africa, or you go to Poland, whatever it may be, and one of the boys says, oh, I want to buy something, I want to buy a drink. Can I please borrow 100 euros? So oh, sure, no problem, I'll give you 100 euros. But when are you going to pay me back? I'll pay you back in Eretz Yisrael. Or I'll pay you back in America, I'll give you $100. Or I'll give you whatever the value is, whatever. We'll work out the value. We'll figure out the currency. That could be a major shaila of Ribbis depending on when you lend it, when you get it back, what it's worth, how it works, yesh loy, ein loy, whatever. These are major shailas of Ribbis that we didn't even chap. Could be a shaila of Ribbis. I'll give you another shaila of Ribbis that people don't even realize could be a shaila of Ribbis. Listen to this. What happens if I say to you, Moish, do me a favor, can I borrow $100 right now? I'm need to go to the store, I need to buy a couple of things, I need to borrow $100. And I will pay you, and I will lend you $100. Ribbis. Well, it's $100 for $100. What's the Ribbis? Where's the Ribbis over here? Ribbis means you're charging extra. I'm not charging extra. I'm asking you, can I borrow $100 and I will pay and I will lend you back $100? The answer is that's Ribbis, because the result of me borrowing is I'm giving you something extra. Of course, I'm going to pay you back the $100, right? And then I'm going to give you a reward. What's the reward? I'm lending you $100. That reward is Ribbis. People don't even chap. Small things. I'll give you another example. Right, the shaila came in recently of a teacher. Again, all of this is a Mefurish Gemara. Those of you doing Daf Yomi just finished it just now, yesterday. Finished Ezer Neshach. But upon him, this is so Nageya. What happens? The shaila came in. A teacher wanted to know. She heard it was a shaila of Ribbis. But again, who thinks of a shaila of Ribbis in such a case? What happens if you have a teacher that says to her fellow teacher, listen, I have to leave early today, this afternoon. Do me a favor, take my class. You know, she's obviously got some time off, whatever it is, take my class, and when you need to leave early, I'll take your class. Okay, sounds like beautiful chesed. Olam chesed yibana, how beautiful. They're doing chesed, that's wonderful. No, that's a shaila of Ribbis. Why is it a shaila of Ribbis? What's the shaila? Again, often the Shulchan Aruch Ramah says it clearly, that if the second class is bigger, harder, more difficult, then that's Ribbis. Because I'm paying you back in something much more. Now again, we have to define what it means, how. I told you we're not going to go through all of the shilas, but I'm just giving you an idea that Ribbis could be extremely nageya. You go to the store and you buy a new fridge, and the fridge is $500. That's how much it costs for the new fridge. But they offer you a deal. that if you pay in advance, it's cheaper. That could be a shaila of ribbis. Maybe even ribbis d'oraisa. Okay, these are shailas that people don't chap. A guy lent me $10,000, right? So I feel, thank you so much for lending me $10,000. So when he gives me $10,000, they say, thank you, I really appreciate that, ribbis. I mean, again, it's common decency to say thank you, ribbis. People don't even chap how ribbis is so nogea to us as a yeshiva bacha, to in business, people that lend things to each other. What about a neighbor? Right? You know how it works here in Eretz Yisrael, right? In America, I don't know if it's a bit more difficult. It depends where you live. You might have to walk 5 minutes till you get to the next house, depending on where you live. But here in Eretz Yisrael, you just knock on the next, right, in a Chanami. But if you knock on the next guy in the apartment, and you want to borrow some potatoes or some onions, do I have to weigh them? Because when I borrow a potato, I'm going to borrow this potato, I'm going to use it, I'm going to pay the back a potato. What's the difference if it's like a bit bigger? Like the potato's a bit bigger. Is that a problem? Somebody said to me like this. This was a shayla that came in a couple of years ago. Was someone about matzahs? They borrowed matzahs on Pesach, and they wanted to return it with a better like Chaim Shel Yad. It was Rashi. So does that have a din of ribbis because it's a higher madrega? It's a better matzah in that case. All these shaylas, Rabbi said, these are shaylas of ribbis that we don't even chap a ribbis, which is why we have to be so incredibly careful to make sure we know what we're doing when we do it. Otherwise, we can be over sometimes on a doraisa and on what Chazal tell us is one of the most terrible things ever, which is why a person has to be careful. Let me give you just two klalim, and I'll give you a little bit of one shayla, and then we'll move tomorrow. Be'ez Hashem, we'll try to get to some practical shaylas. Two very important things you have to know. The one very important thing is, there's something that the Gemara is machaleh between ribbis ketzutza and ribbis eini ketzutza. That means, ribbis that's set up from the beginning of the loan is a da'oraisa. So that means like this. If I say, Yosef, I'm going to borrow $100, I will give you back $110. That's ribbis ketzutza. That's an issa da'oraisa. Whereas, if I say, can I borrow $100? Yeah, sure, no problem. You give me $100, and I pay you back $110. I didn't say anything. That would not be a daraisa because we never set it up to begin with. You understand? So that's a very important thing to make a difference between daraisa and rabbanon. Now there is enough gemina legabe whether we can go to Beis Din and get the money back if it's a daraisa or rabbanon, but we're not going to discuss that at this moment of time. Very, very important thing to remember. People get confused. If you borrow somebody's car, for example, right, I had this shayla with wedding dresses that people asked, what's the halacha? But the same shayla would be true with a car. You borrow somebody's car and you are so thankful that they lent you their car that together with the car, when you return the car at the end of the time, you give a nice bottle of wine for Yom Tov, box of chocolates, whatever it may be. Ribbis! Ribbis, you can't do that. You borrowed, you give me back more than I took. The answer is no. Why? Why is there no ribbis? Ribbis means, and again, there's a lot of details here, but just to give you a simple idea. Ribbis means when I'm taking something and I'm not returning the very same item that I took. When I take the $100 from Yosef, I'm not giving him back the same $100. I spent the $100. I'm giving him a different $100. Therefore, ribbis. When I borrow the car, as long as I treated it correctly, I'm giving back the same car. So if I'm giving back the same item, I borrow someone's apartment, I borrow someone's car, I borrow a wedding, whatever it may be, and I give back the same item, there's no ribbis. Then I can give something. What's that?
What if it changed the value?
That's a different shot. No, the item itself, that's fine. If you give back the same thing itself. When you give back the same thing itself, we don't have to worry.
Even if it changed the value?
Even if it changed value. Even if it changed value. It's the same car. The car and the market value went up. It could be. But I'm giving back the same car. Huh? That's something else. No, you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to do that because you're giving back the same item. Whenever you're giving back the same item, again, whenever you're giving back the same item you borrowed, there is no problem adding things at the same time. There's no ribbis. Ribbis means to take something and to borrow it and give it back in a different way, not the same item. Oh, you borrowed gas. That could be problematic. Oh, you mean you borrowed the gas that was in the car? Fine, so that's a regular shayla ribbis, not the car itself. Okay, so tomorrow, Be'ez Hashem, we'll try to go through more shaylas. But just one last thing Rabbi said for today, because we have to pack in so much for ribbis. The Shulchan Aruch tells us a very interesting lashon that again we don't find in so many places. The Shulchan Aruch says in the beginning of Kus Samach, he says like this. Again, it's a lashon that we don't find that often, and he says Ma'oid tzorich odom nizar be'isser ribbis. Now we don't find ma'oid. We do find it somewhere else, of course, versteht sich, by the Inyoni Arayas. But where else do you find such a thing? Ma'oid. Be very, very careful. obviously there's a message here. Because, the Torah wrote on everything. The Shulchan Aruch wrote on everything. It doesn't write ma'oid by every other halacha, even though we're dealing with serious shilas. Elamai, we're dealing with something that people don't even chap as ribbis. People don't chap, it's a small thing, it's a Lashon Gemara, it's a small little bite, and it goes on and on, gets bigger and bigger and increases, whatever. So therefore, a person has to be extremely, extremely careful. There are many lavim that a person can be over on in that case. We'll just end with one last thing, and that is charging ribbis or paying ribbis to a goy, right? Which is often a Mishnah, the Mefurish Mishnah in Bab Metzia Daf Ayin Amud Beis, that basically says it's mutter. We're not going to go now into the whole sugya. Why is that the case? Why is that not the case? How does it work? Whatever. Halacha lemaisa, we paskin that a person is allowed to pay ribbis and charge ribbis when it comes to a goy, which obviously means that if I have a bank, then I'm pretty much okay taking ribbis from the bank, because the bank is owned by goyim, and therefore the bank is owned by goyim. I have no problem taking ribbis from a goy. That's not a problem whatsoever. The only problem is, and this could be again in America, and it's for sure again here in Eretz Yisrael, whenever you have a bank that there are Jewish people that own shares in the bank. So again, we're not going to go now, there's huge details, how much of the shares, roiv the shares, they have a say in the company, with Moshe's Tshuva, whatever. But al koponim, there is a major shaila if you have Yidden that own the bank, which you have banks that are owned by Yidden, and you have banks that have shareholders that are Yidden in that case. So Rav Moshe has a big chiddush, and others will chaylik on him, but Rav Moshe wants to tie in that case that ribbis only applies when they guarantee the capital. But if a corporation doesn't guarantee the capital, then there's no ribbis in that case, and that would be mutar l'chatchila to lend ribbis when it comes to a corporate organization. These are complicated shilas, but just a little bit of a taster to realize that simple lending someone money when you're going to the makoleh and he pays it back, he doesn't pay it back, different currencies, more, thank you, all of these shilas. Be'ez Hashem, we'll try to get to more tomorrow. B'siyata d'shmaya. Have an amazing day.